West 19th Street. I'm sorry, the prior item, Mr. Wilson asked that we remove that item. He addressed it earlier in the previous discussion.
I just pushed it up. It's like it's either we freeze or we. I know I can't win.
Mr. Vila, would you state your name, your address, and
My name is Lonnie
what's the
Vickness,
problem?
Sr. I am the president of Concerned Citizens of Reserve. I live at 101 West 17th Street, Reserve, Louisiana. Star Terrace, Dutch Bayou, and Wine Alley, the forgotten parts of Reserve. I'd like to start with good evening, Parish President and Council. I'm here to request that the business at 469 West 19th Street called Agri South not be allowed to operate. They're storing tons of burnt grain and bagasse. The smell is unbelievable. After further investigation, I was told by Donald from DEQ that the name of the person running the facility is Chip Aberdee. He also gave me the name and address of the business, which is Agri South on West 19th Street. How does the DEQ have this information and the parish is not aware of this business operating in the parish? I then called court enforcement. They sent out Gregory. At first, he didn't even see the tons of burnt grain stacked up at the facility. But then he said he was going to go back and check it out. He then returned to my house and told me that he seen and smelt what I was talking about. I guess he was told not to put in his report what he saw and smelt because we have received no report. Then my wife, Mary Vicknair, started calling the planning and zoning on the 3rd and 4th of December, only to find out that they were in violation because they did not have an occupational license. She then started calling our councilman, Mr. Randy Wilson, and he wasn't aware of any business operating at that facility and said he would go check it out. My wife then spoke to Bernadette with planning and zoning, and she said they don't need an occupational license, but my wife was told on the 3rd and 4th that they needed one. What is it? They need one or they don't? The definition of occupied, engaged, in use, being used by a person, busy, activity, or fully engaged in some activity. Our main concern is we get a break from ADM grain elevator from the dust, only to have a north wind blowing this burnt hog pen smell into our homes. We can't live inside. We can't enjoy outside. What are we supposed to do? We're just asking for a little help. The few questions I would like to be answered tonight are, do they need an occupational license or not? Because there are daily activities going on as such as running equipment to stir the piles of burnt grain to stop it from burning. We passed out a letter with the story that was written in the newspaper. If y'all didn't know nothing about this place, how does the fire department have a number to call when there's a 911 report that the building is on fire? They don't go out to the scene. They call this number to have the man go there and stir the stuff up to stop it from burning, to stop people from complaining that the building's on fire. Third question, how can we put a stop to our health being in danger by Agri South and ADM grain elevator? My final question is, Ms. Rabada, me and my wife have tried on several occasions to meet with you, only to be ushered out by your secretary or employees. When can we meet with you? You ran on an open door policy, and we would like to get a foot in your door to discuss some of the issues we have in our neighborhood. LAC Chapter 29, odor regulations per DEQ, required to operate the facility so that off-site odors do not cause a nuisance. Thank you for your time and answers to these questions. My name is Lonnie Vicknair, Sr.
Thank you, Mr. Vicknair. Mr. Wilson, do you, okay.
These neighborhoods, where
And we have some of the stuff
Mr.
right here, if y'all
Lonnie.
like to smell it.
Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Vicknair is speaking of, I mean, they've already been plagued with the dust, actually from both of the grain elevators, and they're just asking for some help, that they don't get any more, harm than what's already being done right now. And if you pass there, you'll see the problem, because you're gonna see dust, half-inch thick on everything. They're just asking for some help, and as far as all the license and stuff is concerned, I still don't know if they have occupational license or exactly what they're doing. That's gonna be after somebody out of that department have to answer that.
Everybody passes the buck and says, this is not my department, this is not my department. If y'all take some of the loopholes out of the ordinances y'all have, y'all would get some of the problems y'all have with the blighted houses and other things in the parish. There's always a loophole behind every ordinance. Take those loopholes out so we can get good answers and some help.
Thank you, Mr. Vicknair. I'd like to ask Ms. Sutherland, one of the first questions you asked was, do they need a permit to operate? I'd like to hear from.
They need an occupational license to operate, yes.
Do they have one?
They do not have an occupational license. They are in the process of getting their fire marshal approval. On the 3 occasions that I sent, 2 occasions a code officer, and then on the 3rd occasion, Christy Murray, who's a certified building official, she went out as well on 3 different occasions. And at the time, they were not observed to be operating a business. They do have their grain stored out there on the side of the building, but they are not operating. Their machinery was not put together, and I think they have to process the machinery. But again, we don't go out every day, and we're not out there 24/7. So, the last time we checked was January 11th was the follow-up inspection. Again, according to my 2 code officers and Ms. Murray, there was no odor observed. DEQ, Mr. Donald, actually went out there. I think his name is Donald Coding. He actually went out from DEQ standpoint. He didn't observe an odor, but again, based on consultation with legal counsel, and I think Mr. Vicknair actually gave you the Louisiana revised statute that says that DEQ is responsible for monitoring air quality emissions, which includes smells and odors
So
for
they don't-
industrial facilities.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this property at all. I'm just trying to help you get some answers. If you said they don't have an occupational license and they do need that to operate, how are they able to do anything at the premises?
They are not operating. They have the grain stored. They were setting up when the code officer went out the first time. He informed them that until they received an occupational license, that they were not supposed to do any other operations or any other business. We were contacted by the owner as well as I think the manager of AgriSouth, and they are registered with the Secretary of State's office. And that's why they do have, I think DEQ is probably aware of that particular company. But they were advised and they informed us that they would shut their gates and they would not be operating until they came in with their fire marshal approval and their complete application to submit to planning and zoning. Again, planning and zoning's job, as far as occupational licenses are concerned, is to sign off stating that the zoning is correct for that type of business that you want to run in that particular district. Then it goes through the administration and it goes to the sheriff who issues the occupational licenses.
Thank you. Councilman Paraloo?
Ms. Sutherland,
Yes.
is that property for land use, dumping grain on the ground? Because it seemed to me at a grain elevator, when you dump rotten grain on the ground, I know Cargill, they build a dome with aeration to put that in a bin where you have to have an aeration. Why is they being allowed to dump that in an open field like that?
The way our code is written, it refers to liquid like petroleum and fuel storage in tanks. It doesn't state grains that they have to be stored in tanks.
Well, I know all grain, that's how Cargill built that big dome next door, and they have aeration bins in that grain elevator for rotten products like that, where it's aerated, where it doesn't affect the public. And why they are allowed to do that, I don't know. Because maybe they need to bring some government agents in there beside DEQ and look at that.
Councilman Mott Air?
Well, I have a couple of questions. Okay, if they don't have occupational license, okay, and I know you say you sent someone over there to see if they was operating. Okay, and if we find out that they have operated since they was warned not to, do we have anything in code enforcement that can penalize them or any type of penalty for operating without a license? Do we have anything in place?
We would have to issue them a misdemeanor summons.
Okay, when you say a misdemeanor summons, what exactly do that entail?
That's like a citation, a ticket.
It's a
That's-
fine?
That'll be issued by, for misdemeanor summons, we have to contact the sheriff's office, because our code officers are not commissioned. They would come out, they would issue the misdemeanor summons on our behalf. The code officer would serve as the witness, and then they would have to appear in criminal misdemeanor court.
Okay, because it's quite obvious, and I had a problem, not dissimilar as far as when someone is warned not to, don't have a permit. Okay, and I heard you say we can't go out there 24/7 and watch them. I understand that. But when you have someone that's in question of violating like they are, I think we should be able to send someone at least one time a day, just ride by to see if any activity is going on. Because if you rely just on their word, they will continue to operate. I can tell you that, okay? Because I had some permits issued with people in my area wasn't supposed to be building on a particular building, even though there was code enforcement went out there and stopped them. When code enforcement left, they started back the next day again. So I do think when we have a business that's in question of violating some of our policy as far as operation or permit, we should, in that particular area, we should send that code enforcement, if not every day, every other day, to take a look to make sure that they are not operating illegally. And it seems as though that they may have been operating illegally from the get-go. So I wouldn't trust them to say that they're not doing it now. And without a doubt, to have that grain stored in the open field is definitely a problem, because we have rainstorm, we have a lot of wind. Okay, when that wind blows, it's all over. Okay, so we have to find a way to protect the citizens, and it's our job. Okay, if it's not an ordinance already, then we need to put one in place, because this cannot go on like this. It's just blowing in the wind. That's a problem.
Thank you. Councilman Goff?
I think we need a clarification on, because they did call me, and I rode out there. I didn't smell it at the time, and that's what I reported. That's what I told you when I called you. I did not smell it at the time. I also would, when I called Ms. Sutherland, we talked. I think there needs to be an explanation of needing an occupational license and not needing one, or why. Because when I called, she said the same thing. No, they didn't have one. But suppose and I'm just going to compare it to a T-shirt shop. You get your raw materials in, and you start to store. You fix your shelves. You get things prepared to open for business. And as long as you haven't opened for business, if I'm correct, or unless I'm misunderstood also, you really don't have to, or you may be applying for or have applied for your occupational license, correct?
That was the explanation that I gave to you, as well as to Mr. Vignair, on my judgment as far as them not operating.
Okay.
It's the same as any other business that goes in there. They may do some, painting or whatever on the walls and some cosmetics to their suite, and then they stock their merchandise on their shelves before they open their doors to begin operating, buying, selling to the public, trading, processing, manufacturing. They have to come in and get their occupational license.
Okay.
To me, that is when they begin operating.
Okay. Unfortunately, for the Vicnairs, the raw material is one that emits an odor, especially if the wind blows. Seems like, just what the other council persons have said, we've got to change or amend our ordinance
Exactly.
on how we store some of these raw materials. And in this case, that could be hazardous or it could be not hazardous. But for us, we're not the experts. So just as I told you, we called DEQ. They went out there. What did they say? I'll ask Ms. Sutherland, or their findings was, didn't they do an air quality test?
They said that they responded to the complaint. The initial complaint was not anything to do with an occupational license. It was a burnt odor smell. And that was, I believe, the complaint that was called into DEQ. That is what DEQ responded to. They said that they did not observe any odors.
Okay. So
I don't know if they did do an actual air quality test. I don't have
Okay.
the results of that.
I guess what I'm getting at is that Mr. Rainey went out there. I know I went out there. I'm not an expert, though. But I don't want you to seem like you're coming in here and saying we haven't done anything to work with you or trying to see what the problem is. Now, our laws seem like we need to amend an ordinance or do something that we take care of chemicals or certain products that are coming in that are different than the normal raw materials. Because it seems as though this is something that we're not used to dealing with. You're in an industrial park or in an industrial zoned area. I'm looking at these pictures, and I'm not sure if this comes from that product or if it comes from the plant next door, Cargill. So
Would
I'm
come speak to us and come into our neighborhood when it's happening.
did.
Mr. Vicner,
We
I'm
can
sorry.
show you.
And that's what I'm
Sorry.
saying. I
Go
did go
finish.
through there, and I didn't see, it was a clear day, so I didn't see this being emitted. As Mr. Madair says, maybe it's something that every day, I have not been there every day, but from these pictures, I'm not sure what it's coming from. I can't just, you're saying, don't allow this business to open up. Suppose it's a business that's already existing.
It's existing without permits.
No, I meant like Cargill or one of the other businesses. So it's something that we have to be sure we're making the right or decision or we're making sure we're doing the right thing. And one thing seems to be an amendment to an ordinance to take care of such materials.
Can I speak?
Thank you. Councilman Goff, give me 1 second, please. Do you have anything else, Councilman Goff? Is that all? Next, I have Councilman Wilson, and then I'll come back to the public discussion once we wrap up here.
Okay.
Well, one of the things is they have not applied yet, so we don't know exactly what they're going to apply for. If it has something to do with biofuels or to that nature, they may not be zoned properly to do that. So that means that they would have to come back us to the zoning and get a rezoning. And I said, there's not too much we can do until they start that process so we can see exactly what they're doing.
Right.
But,
It'll be too late then.
huh?
It'll be too late
Thank
then.
you. Councilman Wilson?
No,
any
it's not gonna
further-
be too late, because if they can't operate this thing in the zone, it's a zoning issue at this point. A rezoning would have to take place. And, you bring the whole neighborhood, but, I mean, I think we're gonna stand up for you. I was told that burnt stuff was gonna be covered, and as far as I can see, it hasn't been. And, like I said, this is just the beginning, not the end.
Thank you. Councilwoman Millette?
I want to just kind of reiterate what Mr. Goff said. We have ordinances regarding oil and other things that are stored in tanks, but we just don't have anything specific to grain or odorous materials. And I would kind of like direct our legal counsel to look into that and make a motion to have them look into that to see what we have to do to put some teeth in here so they're not going through a loophole. So there isn't there's an aerator like at Cargill to prevent this odorous from anybody, because I do know it's an industrial area, and I know there's going to be odors that are going to be emitted because it is industrial. However, we have to still protect the residents that do live there, at the same time be friendly to businesses. So there has to be a compromise somewhere, and I would kind of like to ask legal to kind of check into this so we can find out a happy medium for everyone involved.
Thank you. Councilman Snyder?
Yes, I did hear you mention something about fire. Does it auto-ignite?
It's burnt grain.
Is
It
it,
catches on fire, the fire department has received a 911 call, and they are told not to respond, to call this certain number, and the guy will go out there and stir the stuff up. That's operating.
so it auto-ignites, and it just starts the fire by itself? That should be, that should be something against that right there. And I know they got some nuisance odors in our ordinances. That way we can look at. I agree with most of these my comrades here that we don't want to run anybody out of business, but we want to show we take care of our people also. And I've worked in the chemical plant for 30 years, and then we had problems. We got sued. We lost the suit because of odor. But I mean, only I can tell you this now. Just document everything, and that's all you got to do. Keep documenting it. We get something done about it. But I don't know if it auto ignites and it's out there in the open, that should be an issue right there.
I'm sorry, Councilman Wilson. Anything further, Councilman Snyder? President Roboto, would you like to address?
Yes. First of all, Mr. and Mrs. Vickner, from the moment you called our office or we found out about it, we've been working on it. We have legal counsel here. We have contacted DEQ. We pulled their regulations. Again, you're providing a little more information tonight than I was familiar with.
We gave that to Bernadette.
And Ms. Sullivan.
And actually, the part that I wasn't aware of was that this burns and it's on fire and somebody's out there stirring it up. Again, the information we received was that as a regular business, this business was setting up to open and operate. However, they were not operating. They had not received their fire marshal approval. They had not put their equipment in place. It was not there. But there was contact made with the owner and manager to warn them you cannot operate without an occupational license, that there had been complaints about the smell. We were following up with DEQ. At some point, we got information DEQ didn't think they were responsible. However, their law says they are responsible. So we are going to follow up. With regard to coming to my office, I returned back to the parish tonight. I'm not sure when you were there, but if there's a message from my assistant or someone there, I'll be happy to meet with you. We did follow up with everyone involved and basically try to verify the zoning, which is my understanding. It is I-2. We'll have legal counsel address that, and our goal is to make sure that what's happening there is appropriate and correct. Obviously, if there's a smell that's being emitted, we may not have smelled it, but that's not to say it's not there. So please don't take what everybody is saying as an objection to what you're saying. You've smelled it. These people are saying when they went out there, they didn't, but that's not to say it's not there. But if you're telling us, and I've asked my public safety director to find out what's going on with the fire departments, if that is actually occurring, then we need to know that. So obviously there is something going on if the fire department is having to be called or calling somebody out to go and stir up something that's catching on fire, which might be another danger. Our goal is to one, protect you, and we're trying to do that. We are following up. I expect my staff to. The pieces of information that you brought out tonight are inconsistent with what I've been told. So we will continue to follow up. The zoning appears to be appropriate. We have contacted, and they are responsible, DEQ. The owner or whoever you've been speaking with, Ms. Sutherland, you will need to get her back on the phone tomorrow and find out exactly what is happening and if any of this is occurring. And again, until there's an occupational license that's been approved, they are not to operate a business.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Who gave them the permission to go put all that tons and tons of grain and the gases out on that property?
That is not something that requires permission.
Who would stock a facility that's not planning on opening?
No, no.
Stock a clothing store.
No, we're not saying, yeah, they do plan on opening.
That was the information we was given.
No.
A clothing
But you
store.
see the pictures, you can see they're in there. They're
Right.
in there and they're doing it.
But we didn't get the pictures. Do you have the pictures?
No, they all.
Okay, well, you know, it'd be helpful if, you know, Ms.
We tried on
Sutherland
several
actually
occasions
directs.
in the past to get in your office and we can't.
I was not here, so if,
In the past year, man.
well,
Like a whole year. That's no lie.
and so this has been going on a year?
No, this,
Just with the ADM and now this.
I mean, we get a break from
Oh,
ADM, and here we got northeast wind, and we smelling this hog pen burnt smell.
Okay.
I mean, I just was diagnosed not even a month ago with asthma and bronchitis.
And I think if it's the same case, we did meet with ADM, we had DEQ. Mr. On-Call handled your case?
Nobody,
with,
nobody talked to us. Saying
I'd
no
like to
person.
ask, if it's possible, I know President Robotham has said that, she will meet with you all. Obviously, she said that there's some misinformation here.
Right.
So if you'd like to, schedule an appointment and meet with her to further discuss it, I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to
Yeah,
handle it
there's
all, right?
nothing-
There's not
nothing
too much
tonight.
we can do right now
But,
unless we get all the information.
I think Ms. Sutherland has your number. I'll have my assistant call you to set up an appointment. In the interim, we'll bring the information we have. You bring what you have. I have advised two things. Joby, I need you to contact the fire department and verify what has been told. Angelique, contact the owner again and verify that there is no activity going on there. There is no burning, and if there is, that all of it is to cease until there's an occupational license. Yes.
They're using it for cattle feed.
I don't know how they get anything out of it.
They take in the burnt grain and they mix it with the bagasse.
Again, something that obviously won't be settled tonight, but please don't think that we're not working on this. The last time I was here, our legal meeting was specifically on this incident and what we needed to do to proceed. So whether you're with me or not, we are actually trying to work on resolving this case, and my staff is tasked with making sure there is an adequate response that remains within the legal realm. And we will get back with you. I'll have my assistant give you a call to set up a meeting, and I expect the other two will take care of their task tomorrow.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Vicknair?
The business may be located in industrial. I am personally located in C1. The back of my street is residential. All of Star Terrace is residential. So just the business is in industrial.
Thank
They
you.
said that we're all industrial. We're not all industrial.
We're all sitting here.
I'm sorry, can you just tell us your name for
I'm
the,
a concerned citizen. My name's Kevin Van Camp. I live down the street at 176 West 17th Street.
thank you, sir.
And the problem herein lies is that we keep trying and trying and trying to get help in our neighborhood. And we've talked to DEQ. You call DEQ. DEQ comes out. They come out when they feel like coming out, not when the issue is happening. They come out 2 hours after the issue when they've already been called and shut down for whatever process they were doing. Well, we don't have any type of monitoring air quality stations in our neighborhood. We just incorporated a school into our neighborhood, okay? This is the problem. If this stuff is out there and it's sitting on the ground, I can't pay to compound test at $80 a compound to see if this is gonna affect me or my family. My dog's outside breathing this, my air conditioning, through in my house. There's all kinds of stuff that this is gonna create. So we're here as a neighborhood trying to say we need help because there's no ordinances in place for this burnt stuff or any grain issue as far as that goes. I've got videos. It looks like it's snowing in my neighborhood. I have surveillance cameras all over my home. I have video. It looks like it's snowing in reserve. Okay? I don't want this to come down to a issue where we bring the federal people in and we get to a deep down into it because we don't want that. We want to be taken care of and we want this issue to be resolved. That is what we're asking for. We're not asking for everything. We're just asking for our health because this is going to cause us health problems down the line, and then we have to incur those costs. Not the people that are putting stuff out and just mixing it on the ground. They're not going to deal with that. We are going to deal with that. So all we're asking you guys is to help us out, get on our side, and take the loopholes out of some of these little things that's happening in this parish. I've been here for 15 years, and I love this parish. I have a business in this parish, and I would like to keep it in this parish. So I just ask you guys to help us out with this situation and see what we can do about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, sure.
My name is Sandra Romaday. I live at 165 West 17th Street. I have a big health problem. I stay with upper respiratory infection because of all of this. If I could move tomorrow, I would, but I can't. I pass by every morning at 6:45, and this place is operating. I bring my grandson to school. I come back. When he gets off at 2 o'clock, I pass right in front of it again. This is operating. I'm the one took the pictures. We went in the yard to take pictures. And nobody tried to stop me because the man told me, ma'am, you can't do nothing about what we're doing.
And that is the very big problem that we're having here. And there's a lot of neighbors that don't want to speak out. They don't want to come forward because they don't want to be chastised by any problems that might occur because of us doing what we're doing. You see, that's the problem here. We don't have air quality checks. We want an air quality station in our neighborhood that's monitoring our air 24 hours a day. And then the DEQ can say, okay, now we have a problem. But right now,
now we're
that's not
fighting
happening.
this. We're fighting this. Our next big fight, we're going to be right back over here because Marathon bought all the sugarcane fields coming all the way to 19th Street. So we're going to be right back. They're killing us. They are.
But the issue at hand is the grain and the stored compounds outside. There's children going to school right there, not even a quarter mile from that location. It depends on which way the wind blows. There's no studies that says this isn't going to affect us in any kind of way. And there's no funding to do those studies, from what I understand. So unless it's a citizen like me that has a business in the parish and can afford to help my fellow neighbors out by getting compound tests done, that's the next step we're going to take. But we want to give you guys the opportunity to come to us as our parish councilman and help us out. Don't keep brushing us underneath the blanket because we need help. It's killing us every day.
I mean, we're an elderly neighborhood. We're bringing our grandchildren. We can't let them go outside. Everybody's got asthma attacks. The minute you come down 17th, 18th, 19th Street, asthma attack.
I have a question just of administration really quick. Is it possible that we can have someone, maybe even from our public safety department at that time, 6:45, to see what's going on at the property?
I think we can send
Send some. Okay, thank you. Councilman Madare wanted to speak. Any one of you all have any more comments or?
Now that you broadcast, they're gonna go check, they won't be there.
Oh, just to let you know,
And all the little faces everybody makes, it's not funny. It's not funny. It's our
It's not.
life and
It's
it's our
our
health. All the little smirks and comments you get back from people when you call, that's not what it's about. It's about our health.
I have a text that somebody sent me. I don't know who this phone number is. And it says, fighting a losing battle.
Now, as she's talking about, and I was saying before, it is our turn to speak. And now that we're here and we want to speak, the air quality is a problem. And I can't stress this, I don't know how many times. If a quality station is not set up, I will personally set one up in my neighborhood to prove that fact that that's happening. That's how bad it's getting that people like me have to come forward that have a business here, that employ people here to try to help my fellow people out in the neighborhood because nobody wants to stand up for themselves. Okay? That's why that's why we're all here. It's for this just to be straightened out. It's our children, it's their grandchildren, just had a baby born yesterday, a new infant. These are the situations. So like once before we said, we would like to help. We're tired of paying for our roofs that have to be fixed, our air conditioners have to be fixed, our cars gotta be washed every day. I mean, it's just terrible. Our dogs live outside, they're breathing in stuff every day. So until some studies are done, this isn't really going to be fully understood. But what we're asking you guys is to look into this matter a little more closely because it seems to be it's brushing over everybody's eyes when this comes up, and we can't have that. This has to be solved because we don't want this to be a documentary about Reserve Louisiana and why are we killing people in Reserve. We don't need that. We need it to be, to solve the issue to be done, and we need help. So that's all we're
My
asking.
thing is, if they are putting this stuff for cattle feed, what are we eating? If they mixing that with bycasses and burnt grain, I wouldn't want to eat that.
We breathe it every day.
Thank you, Councilman Madere.
Yes, after listening to everyone, I'm more than sure that this council see the problem, and we'll get together and we'll try to see what we can do is check into the ordinance and all possibility as to what's going on out there. And I'm like this, okay? I love to have businesses in St. John Parish, without a doubt. But when it comes down between business and the health of the community, I choose the community.
Yes.
Okay, I'm on the side of the residents. Okay, I want business. But if business that come in is going to damage the resident or cause a problem, I'm for the residents all the time. So we have to look into what we can do to make this better, for the people in that area. And like I say, if this thing is not contained, it's not only going to go by your house, it's the house past your house and the house past your house.
Then the school.
It goes when the wind blows. Okay, and when you have kids involved, that's even more. Thank you.
Any further discussion from the council? Any further discussion from the council? I'd like to just thank you guys even for coming out. Oh, I'm sorry. You had something? I was just going to thank you all for coming. I know, as you mentioned, it takes a lot of courage sometimes to come forward and speak out about something that's going on in your neighborhood. So I wanted to I appreciate that. I know that this council is going to be committed to assisting President Rowbottom. She's just tasked her staff with finding out what's going on, and hopefully we can come to a solution that's in the best interest of you guys.
Okay, well, I'd like to just thank all you guys for accepting and listening to what we had to say, and we appreciate all the help we can get.
Thank you.
And once again, we're the concerned citizens of Reserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vicknair. Next item on the agenda, old business. There's no old business. Next item, new business. Changing of the February 12, 2013 council meeting date. The next council meeting, I'm sorry, President Rowbottom. President Rowbottom. I'm sorry, if y'all want to talk outside, just. Apologize for that. The next council meeting actually falls on Mardi Gras Day, so I would like to get a motion from someone that we move it to the following.